Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing good today and welcome to the today's video. So on today's video, we will be discussing about something on RBAC, role-based access control. So this is one of the important topic in Kubernetes and it should be known by everyone. So don't skip this video and please do watch out fully. We will be discussing what is RBAC and what is the importance of RBAC and the new features of RBAC in Kubernetes 1.23. So these are the things that we are going to discuss about now. So without any wasting time, just get into the video. So the first thing that we are going to discuss about is known for RBAC, role-based access control. So what is RBAC? So role-based access control is a Kubernetes, is a way to control who can access Kubernetes resources and what they can do with them. So RBAC is based on principles of least privileges, which means that users should only be given the permission they need to do their job. So that's the reason, the main intent of having this RBAC. Okay, so there are two types of RBAC objects in Kubernetes. One is called role, another one is called role binding. These are the two key essentials for RBAC. Role can define a set of permission, while the role binding can associate this role with a set of users or groups. So that's the matter. So role, it has the permission. Role binding is basically associating with the users and groups. So to create a role, you need to specify the following things: name of the role, namespace where role will be applied, and set of permissions that role will have. Okay, so these are the things that it has to be known. So to create a role binding, you need to specify the following things: the name of the role binding, the namespace where the role binding is will be applied, and the user or groups that role binding will apply to, the role that the role binding will associate with the users or group, the role that the role binding will associate with the users or group. That is very important. That's why I have repeated. So once you have created the roles and role binding, you can use them to control access to your Kubernetes resources. Say for example, you could create a role that allows user to create pods and then create role binding that associate that role with specific user groups. So this would allow users in that group to create pods, but they would not able to do anything else with those pods. So such as deleting them, changing their configuration, totally they can, what you can say, limit itself. Okay, basically like developers should have this kind of privilege, admin should have this kind of privilege, tester should have this kind of privilege. So these privileges that you can segregate for certain users or groups. RBAC is a powerful tool that can be used in a secure your Kubernetes cluster, by which using RBAC can ensure that only authorized users have access to your resources and that they can only do what they need to do. Okay, so these are the things that RBAC has. Okay, so there are some additional the knowledge on this particular concept. It's all about like roles and role bindings are objects in the Kubernetes API. How we have pods, deployment, how we have replica sets, how we have the other components like, and role binding can be created, updated, deleted using the kubectl command line to CLI. Role and role binding can be applied to the namespace or to the entire cluster. Basically, like if admin should have entire cluster access, so developers should have access to specific namespace or certain things, and same for testing also. Okay, same like RBAC can be used to control access to all Kubernetes resources, including pods, service, deployments, and so on. So RBAC is a powerful tool that can be used to secure your Kubernetes clusters. Okay, these are the things or additional details. Okay, let's talk about something on the best practice of using the RBAC in Kubernetes. Use the principles of least privileges. Only give users the permission they need to do their job. So use role binding to associate the roles with user and groups. Apply role and role binding to namespace or to the entire cluster. Regularly review your RBAC configuration to make sure it is still secure or not. By following these best practices, you can use RBAC to secure your Kubernetes cluster and protect your resources from unauthorized access. So why RBAC is important? So basically, RBAC is an important security mechanism. So that allows you to control who has access to the Kubernetes resources and what they can do with them. RBAC is based on the principles of least privileges, which means that the user should only be given up the permission when they need to do their job. So there are certain benefits to you using this RBAC, including in Kubernetes. So what are all those? So basically, like it increased the security. RBAC can help to prevent an unauthorized users from gaining access to your resources, and it reduces the complexity. RBAC can help to simplify your security configuration by centralizing the access control, and it improves the cap compliance. RBAC can help you to meet compliance requirements such as imposed by HIPAA and PCI DSS. So it increases the flexibility. RBAC can be used to dynamically control access to your resources, which can be useful for managing changes to your environment. So overall, RBAC is an important security mechanism that can help you to protect your Kubernetes resources from unauthorized access. So if you are looking for a way to improve the security of your Kubernetes cluster, RBAC is the great option to consider. So there are certain specific examples of how RBAC can be used and to improve and like the security of the Kubernetes cluster. So you can use RBAC to prevent users from accessing the sensitive resources and such as production database and all those things. So you could use RBAC to restrict users to specific actions such as only being able to read data from the database. You could use RBAC to control access to resources based on your user role, such as allowing administrator to create new pod. So these are all the things it concludes like why exactly the RBAC is important here. So next we will be talking about something on new features of RBAC. So in Kubernetes 1.2.3, there are certain the new advanced features has been enabled for RBAC. So we have to check out what are all those. The first one, which is also known for the role hierarchy. Role hierarchy allows you to define an hierarchy of roles where child roles inherit the permission of the parent role. So this can make it easier to manage RBAC permission. So as you can define small number of parent role and can create a multiple child roles that can inherit those permissions. So basically like inheritance. So to go one more layer down, it's a powerful feature that can help you to manage your RBAC permission more efficiently. So by defining a hierarchy of roles, you can ensure that users only have permission they need to do their job. Say for example, you could create a parent role that allows you to create just pods. Then you could create a child role that inherit the permissions of the parent role. So, but also having an additional permission such as ability to delete pods, modify the configurations, and all those things. So this can help you to simplify RBAC configuration and make it easier to manage. So this is all about like role hierarchy. The second one that we're going to talk about is known for role alias. Role alias allows you to create an alias of roles. This can be useful for making RBAC configuration more readable and maintainable. Let's go somewhat in detail. So this particular configuration is a convenient way to create an alias for roles. This can be useful for making your RBAC configuration more readable, maintainable. For example, you could create a role alias for create pod role. Then you could use the role alias in RBAC configuration instead of the full name of the role. So this can make your configuration easier to read and understand. So this is all about like role alias. Next, we will talk about something on binding webhook. What is binding webhook? So binding webhook allows you to validate role binding before they are applied to the clusters. So this can help to prevent of unauthorized users for gaining an access to the resources. Okay, so this is an overall. Let's go somewhat in depth. So it's a powerful security feature that can help you to prevent an unauthorized users from gaining an access to their resources. So binding webhooks allow you to validate role binding before they are applied to the cluster. This can help to ensure that only authorized users have access to the resources. Take for example, you could create a binding webhook that validates the user who is trying to bind a role to a user or group is unauthorized to do so. This can help to prevent unauthorized users from gaining an access to the resources. So this is all the three main core features has been enabled on Kubernetes 1.23. So you can improve the security of Kubernetes cluster, protect your resources from the unauthorized access. So that's all I have, guys. I hope you might have enjoyed this particular lecture. We'll see you on another good lecture. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Keep supporting.